The human man stumbled off the transport ramp, blinking against the iridescent glow of the palace interior. The floor beneath him pulsed faintly, as if alive, and hovering drones zipped past, carrying trays of iridescent liquids that shimmered like liquid rainbows. He tripped over a floating toolkit and nearly collided with a panel that projected a holographic map of the royal gardens. "Great!" he muttered, rubbing his shoulder. "First interstellar palace, first injury. Nailed it." The queen appeared at the far end of the hall, her long ears sweeping back elegantly, eyes glinting like molten silver. She wore her ceremonial armor, marred by dents and scratches from a drill gone awry. Her guards stiffened as she approached, but she gave him a curious glance instead of an immediate command. The man swallowed. He had expected alien intimidation, not what looked like mild curiosity mixed with judgment. Hello?" he said, holding out a hand as if shaking it would solve centuries of political hierarchy. The queen merely tilted her head, one ear twitching in what he guessed was amusement. He knelt in front of the armor, examining the damage. Each plate hummed faintly, resonating with some strange energy he couldn't identify. His fingers brushed against alien alloys, feeling the subtle vibration of a material that seemed almost alive. "Okay. If I can't fix this, well, at least I'll make it look, less catastrophic," he muttered. As he worked, sparks flew from his improvised welding tool, sending the nearest floating drone spinning in a slow somersault. "Sorry, don't report this to the queen," he called, as the drone beeped indignantly. A servant scurried to catch it midair, only to trip on a hovering platform and crash gently into a wall of softly glowing crystal. Minutes stretched, each punctuated by tiny disasters. He tried an alien wrench that inexplicably hovered an inch away from his hand. He accidentally short-circuited a levitating hammer, which zipped around like a hyperactive pet, smacking him on the shoulder twice. "I swear, I do this with human tools too," he said, rubbing the bruise. The queen's lips twitched, and for a moment, he thought she might be trying to smile. Encouraged, he jabbed a piece of armor back into place with a dramatic flourish, which caused a small panel to detach and spin into the air, spraying neon liquid across the floor. He ducked, narrowly avoiding a luminous puddle that hissed and shimmered. Then, impossibly, it worked. The armor gleamed, perfectly aligned, humming softly with energy. The queen extended a hand, not in command, but in acknowledgement, and the guards blinked, then erupted into cheers. "Wait, what?" he said, backing up as if he were supposed to bow or salute, or he had no idea. The queen's long ears twitched once more, her expression unreadable but somehow approving. The man realized, as a drone hovered above him projecting confetti and holographic fireworks, that he had just, somehow, earned the admiration of an entire alien court. He coughed, glancing around. Do I get a medal, or?" Laughter rippled from the queen, soft and unexpected, mingling with the clatter of drones and the hum of alien machinery. Somehow, in a palace where every step seemed preordained and every gesture significant, he had managed to turn catastrophe into triumph, and for the first time, he wondered whether his chaotic human instincts might just survive in the strange, glowing world. The next morning, he awoke to the sound of 1,000 tiny bells chiming in unison. Or maybe it was the palace drones rearranging themselves for the day. Either way, it was loud, and it felt like the entire building was vibrating with anticipation. He rolled out of the soft, levitating mattress, which promptly floated a few inches upward and hovered, making him look like he was performing some awkward zero-gravity yoga. "Right?" he muttered, stepping carefully. "First order of business. Survive breakfast without insulting anyone or ending up in a diplomatic duel." He barely reached the grand hall when a crowd had already gathered, their shimmering robes and metallic jewelry reflecting the artificial sun that drifted lazily along the ceiling. At the center, the queen stood, regal and calm, her long ears twitching like antennae picking up signals from some invisible frequency. But she wasn't alone. The ministers and generals, creatures with elongated limbs and bioluminescent markings, All stared at him as if he had been elected king in a dream vote he didn't even know existed. "Good morning," he said, waving awkwardly. Citizens of hello?" One of the generals stepped forward, his voice a melodious hum. "The king approaches," he intoned solemnly. "King?" The word echoed in his brain like a badly tuned transmitter. "Me? The king? I fix armor, not rule planets." He whispered to no one in particular, but a floating platter of breakfast fruit hovered near his ear as if listening. A grapefruit-sized sphere of blue fruit bounced lightly on the table and rolled toward him. He nudged it back with a hand, narrowly missing a decorative fountain that sprayed a thin rainbow mist. "See? I almost survived a fruit attack. Leadership, check." The queen approached, her expression calm, though one ear flicked with amusement. "Titles here are earned through action, not ambition," she said, her voice melodic, smooth, and somehow comforting. "You have acted." He nodded, feeling the weight of that statement and the absurdity all at once. "Sure, but there's a difference between repairing armor and negotiating interstellar treaties," he said, scratching the back of his head. The queen's lips twitched, maybe a smile. As the morning progressed, he stumbled through ceremonial introductions, mispronouncing names, titles, and accidentally bowing to a holographic projection of a deceased minister. Each blunder was met with polite chuckles or bemused glances, and somehow, it became a running joke. Whenever he messed up, a drone would buzz overhead, projecting confetti or a holographic oops sign. The generals, initially stiff, began to relax, even laughing as he tripped over a levitating chair and landed in a pile of soft, glowing cushions. "I promise," he said, "this is my normal level of competence." By mid-morning, he found himself beside the queen in a quiet corridor. She observed him closely, her ears twitching as he gestured wildly to explain how he accidentally fixed a weapon that wasn't even broken. "You are unpredictable," she said, "and somehow useful." He shrugged. "Yeah, that's the human advantage. Chaos with charm." For a moment, the corridor felt suspended in time, and he realized that while he might be out of his depth politically, he had started to earn her trust, and maybe, just maybe, the respect of an entire alien world. By the time the sun, or whatever artificial star floated above the palace, reached its highest point, the human man was already juggling 3 separate crises. A diplomatic dispute over mining rights on a nearby asteroid, a malfunctioning fleet of reconnaissance drones buzzing in synchronized chaos, and the queen's ceremonial garden fountain that had inexplicably developed a low-level gravity field, causing small plants and ornamental stones to hover unpredictably. He wiped his hands on his sleeve and muttered, "Just another Tuesday in interstellar governance." A hovering fruit platter narrowly missed his head, a grapefruit rolling off like an intergalactic cannonball. The queen appeared beside him, her long ears twitching in a subtle rhythm that somehow conveyed both amusement and impatience. "You have adapted," she observed, "in ways we did not expect." He blinked. Adapted? He had gone from clumsy repairman to accidental king in less than 48 hours, navigating alien politics with only his wits, luck, and a troubling habit of tripping over gravity anomalies. "Well," he said, picking up a floating tray of luminous pastries, "when in Rome or wherever this is, you improvise." He offered one to her. She raised an eyebrow but took it anyway, and for a moment the galaxy seemed almost quiet, almost peaceful. Negotiations with the asteroid miners proved challenging. They argued in a language of clicks and harmonic tones, but he found humor in miscommunications, translating their words poorly on purpose just to diffuse tension. "No, we're not demanding you surrender your graviton turbines," he said, nodding sagely. "We just want them to politely consider lending us a few for science experiments, possibly for baking." Laughter echoed across the hall, a mix of alien and human amusement, and the miners eventually agreed to a compromise, shaking hands or tentacles with surprising warmth. Later, he attended a council meeting where scheming ministers attempted subtle power plays. He caught on to their strategies, not through cunning, but because he had learned to read the smallest twitches of the queen's long ears and the micro-expressions of her aides. With a mixture of honest suggestions, occasional jokes, and carefully timed accidents, like spilling a holographic map to reveal hidden resources, he earned the trust of both allies and skeptics. The palace, once intimidating, now felt like a second home, where humor and ingenuity were just as valuable as titles or technology. By evening, he stood on the balcony overlooking the city, the twin moons casting silver light across sleek towers and floating gardens. The queen joined him, silent at first, then said, "You have changed this court, and perhaps it has changed you." He looked out at the world below and nodded. He was no longer just a visitor, no longer just a human stumbling through alien rituals. He had become a mediator, a symbol of unexpected unity, someone who could navigate chaos with humor and still be respected. The palace bells chimed, not in alarm but in celebration, and the citizens, human and alien alike, cheered for a king who had never sought the crown. He laughed, a genuine, unself-conscious sound, and the queen's ears flicked with amusement. In that moment, he understood. Leadership was not about perfection, but about courage, adaptability, and the willingness to embrace the absurd. The galaxy might be vast, unpredictable, and occasionally dangerous, but for the first time he felt ready to face it, armed with little more than a toolkit, a sharp wit, and a sense of humor that even aliens could appreciate.